we wear blinkers, we don't see. Second, I want to say blue ocean strategy is about shifting your strategic focus. Instead of focusing on your customer, you focus on your own customer. Instead of focusing on your industry, you focus on the alternatives. Shift of your perspective and mindset. The next reason is we think not. We think not. Why? Because you and your competitors in any industry, after it has been in existence for some time, you share largely the common industry logic. Right? You share the common assumptions. And some of these assumptions are true, and some of these assumptions are false. Okay? If your assumptions are true and you share, these are called common sense, right? Everybody knows they are true. But some of the assumptions are not true. These are called common nonsense. And sometimes your assumptions are only for yourself, but not true. It's called uncommon nonsense. And finally, there's certain uncommon sense. Okay? Something that makes sense but uncommon. Others don't see, you see. Okay, so the key to market creation is to discard your common nonsense and to discover uncommon sense. Okay? So blue ocean strategy is about seeing what all others see, but thinking what no one else has thought. Okay, the other thing is we know not. We do not know. Because if you think about management, teaching, management strategy, is largely dominated by competitive strategy. Right? It's influenced largely by the military. Even the very language we use often betray this. You know, we call captain in the industry, our frontline people, we stay in headquarters. These are all what jargon? Military jargon, right? So it is the same thing whether you see to the west or the east. Same. Alright? Have you read these books before? You have read these books before, some of you, I'm sure. Okay? But you can see with it the whole assumptions of the military. What is wrong with this mindset? When you use this military metaphor in your strategy, what's wrong with it? Competitive. It also comes with these certain assumptions, right? How do you fight a war? You look at a piece of land and say, okay, you know, you got this mountain, you got this valley, we want to carve out a defensible position, and if we want to win over the enemy, we must, you know, win at their expense. It is a zero-sum game, right? What you gain must be at the expense of your competitor. But is business or industry like that? Should it be like this? We saw just now that business and industry has the capacity to create, right? Create new industry, create new wealth, create new value, new demand. So if you compete like this, then you are locked into a certain mindset. No wonder there's no systematic teaching of how to look at it differently rather than just competitive strategy. Look at the quarters, 5 forces. Look at the jargon used, right? It's about threat, it's about capturing the market space, it's about competition. Okay, but blue ocean strategy is not about, you know, competing to win a greater market share. It is about making the competition irrelevant. The last reason is we dare not. Why do we dare not? All of us have been children before, right? And as children, when you are scared, what happens? When you are scared, what happens? You hang on to something. You hang on to your teddy bear, something that you are familiar with. It could be your towel or teddy bear. And as adults, we also hang on to our teddy bear. see not, we think not, we know not, we dare not. And that is why there is a need for a systematic way of teaching people to create blue ocean. And this is what blue ocean strategy is all about. Blue ocean strategy is about a theory, first of all, to explain to you the existence of blue ocean, what are the patterns behind, how to understand this. Then secondly, we also have a set of systematic tools, framework and methodology to help people, companies, to create blue ocean systematically. Okay, this is finally, I want to share with you how do you create a blue ocean. So instead of teaching you abstract theory, I like to use some concrete cases to share the principles with you. We normally take one full day to do this, but we have very short time. So all I can do is highlight to you some high-level principles of blue ocean strategy creation. Okay, let's use this industry as an example, the airline industry. First, give you a quick historical perspective. The airline industry was started in the 1920s, soon after the Second World War, because soon after the First World War, in the First World War, they had military airplanes. So when the peace came, these were employed for civilian use. And as you can imagine, these are only for developed countries, and also they are very expensive. So initially, these airlines serve food. They serve the wealthy, the well-to-do, the powerful, the political leaders and so on. And over a period of time, this whole industry developed a certain industry logic and standard industry practices. And what are some of these? Firstly, it is considered a luxury, right? Ordinary people cannot use, because they pamper the high-end customer. Then, because of that, they have class seating, first class, business class, and then those who really cannot afford, we go to economy class. And then, because they want to pamper this group of customers as luxurious airport lounges, and then very high service level, right? High service level, from the meal, the day, from the sea, in-flight entertainment, and down to the stewardess. They really spend a lot of energy to have high specifications even for their stewardess. If you go to sometimes take maybe Korea Air, you see all the stewardess look exactly the same, as though they come out from the factory. Okay, and then they have these alliances. Why? Because they wanted to have a convenience for the customer from KL all the way to London. Then they were code sharing with other airlines, so you will guarantee the final destination. This is the industry practices. And then to encourage customer loyalty, they have frequent flyer program. All of you know this, right? But how is this industry? This industry is known to be value destroying. Okay, many national airlines lose money, and then you can see this is statistics there for the past 2 years, 2008 and 2009, and it is the same all over the world. But in this very competitive red ocean industry, can you create a blue ocean? Yes. Okay, somebody say yes. Good. Yeah, you can. In fact, even in competitive made this low-cost flight in Asia, and they have been voted as the best low-cost airline, not by some rating agencies, but voted by the passengers themselves. So it's a very credible ranking. And in 2009, what happens in 2009, 2008? All of you should know. Financial turmoil. And what happens to the whole industry? Really collapsed. Whole industry really collapsed. Everybody lose money. But Asia expanded their market and made money. And how did you do it? I want to share with you some thinking behind. Alright? This is what Tony Fernandez has to say. Airlines have become like Paris. What do Paris do? Just repeat whatever you say to them. Alright? And airlines are the same. But he says business is all about innovation, and this is Blue Ocean strategy. Okay, the first principle about Blue Ocean strategy creation, Blue Ocean creation is that you want to look beyond your existing demand. Okay? Was he trying to compete with MAS for greater market share? It was not, right? It was after the guy who has never had a chance to fly before. And these are the guys who are non-customers of the airline industry, but he wanted to reach them. Okay, the other principle is you reconstruct your industry boundary. Don't just focus on your industry. Look at the alternatives. If people don't fly, what do they turn to? They don't fly, they turn to road transport. They take a bus from here to Penang, from here to Kota Baru. Okay? And so Tony Fernandez saying that he's substituting a 9-hour bus flight with a half-hour flight. So what is he benchmarking against? Airline industry? No, right? Benchmarking against bus. So to reconstruct the industry boundary. And finally, how do we exercise this value innovation? Okay, firstly, how do you create value up? You raise the frequencies, a lot more destination and routes, and this fun image. When they just started, I was surprised that they spent millions of dollars sponsoring Manchester United, and today